Music in animation is everything. Especially at the Disney Studios, it has always been a centerpiece of all of our films. And when you think back of the movies that we've done, like Bambi and Dumbo, you remember the music. And Atlantis is really no different. It's not a musical. Nobody breaks into song and sings. But in every way, it kind of is a musical.
On Atlantis, because we didn't have songs, it was going to be very important to us to get a composer who could really give us that huge sense of adventure and wonderful themes. And, well, we kind of quickly got down to James Newton Howard.
When you're really lucky, you get to work with a composer like James Newton Howard. And when, this is our second of 3 films in a row we're doing with him, because he's doing Treasure Planet, which comes out a year from now, Atlantis now, and did Dinosaur last year.
In the case of Atlantis, I've approached it largely as a live-action film in terms of all the sensibilities. And in that regard, they are exactly the same for me in terms of the initial inspiration, the initial ideas, in terms of what the music's going to feel like and what it's going to be like.
I've always thought James Newton Howard should get story credit on our films because he transports you musically through several idioms. In other words, he's taken us from Washington, D.C. in a very symphonic approach to music and transported us to a culture that's never existed before by inventing a musical voice for Atlantis.
Let's do one more time, and let's have Jim Thatcher play out his horn line just a fraction now. Split the difference.
What I'm trying to do is establish a difference between the surface world and the Atlantean world. There's a number of ways of doing that. The way we chose, or we talked about early on, was sort of referencing to a very distant extent gamelan, which is the Indonesian orchestral sound. It's made up of a lot of tune, chimes, and bells and gongs, and it's a wonderfully rich tradition of music. I think the idea is to combine sounds in such a way, juxtapose it against the picture in such a way that the totality of what you experience is a unique and wonderful event, much more so than any individual sound.
Composers in Hollywood don't get a lot of chance to write scores like this. There's some big moments where we carved out time with no dialogue and these beautiful scenics and just said, this is a moment that we can't express in words. You have to take it. As storytellers, we can only take the audience so far. We can only kind of lead the horse to water. And what James can do with his music is he can make the horse drink. He can really take you all the way and have that emotional quality resonate with the audience. You really feel like he's tapping into something that's really primal in us that really helps us appreciate the emotion of the story.
If you're a composer in an animated film, you really have to assume the role of a team player. I enjoy that. I really enjoy the feeling of sort of being a team.
What you get with James is not just a guy who's going to do your score for you. You get a partner. So he comes in very early with us on the movie. Over a year ahead, he's with us creating themes, writing themes, watching the story as it develops. Animation can be very inviting for someone like that. And when you get a composer like James who has such an expansive idea in his head about what film music can be, he becomes a real partner. And the marriage of the sound of the movie and his score is so spectacular, sometimes you can't even separate the two. That is his musical depth, but more than that, it's his emotional depth and his willingness to partner that makes him so great.